Okay, what the fuck? Oh, it's working. Of course. Of course, what I say first is what the fuck? Unplug it, plug it back in. That's what I did. That's what worked as usual. I hope everybody is well. I apologize for the problems. Oh my God, what? So leggy. I didn't understand. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to. Whew, already having a day. Also, I can't make the green screen work properly with my hair today. It doesn't like it. Plus, there's a lot of freezing happening, which is weird because nobody else is using the internet here. But regardless, I hope you're doing well, she says as she thinks about that carefully. I hope everybody's doing well. It is Saturday, January the 6th, and I would love to hear what you had for breakfast today or what you're planning on having for dinner. If you are, I guess East Coast is already almost dinner time. So I wanted to do a bit of a stream. I also, yeah, we'll just go with that. So, uh, I hope everybody's having a good day. Like I said before, Mayor, welcome. Make sure that you clock in for your shift, hit the like button. Oh, I listened to a funny AI voice today that was really realistic. In fact, freaky. Freaky good. So shiny. That I thought was a little bit just a little crazy. Anyways, uh but then I remembered I have my voice. Why on earth would I use an AI voice when I have my voice? Anyways, so I am going to okay, what are we gonna do? Okay, thank you. My hair. Yes, it is still curly from yesterday. I like it one day afterwards, but if I brush it, it'll go straight. Uh let's think. So I have a new series, like a couple hour item that we're gonna watch part of today, but I don't want to jump right into that. Oh, we didn't watch all of Hagen's stuff the other day, so we'll watch, or was it the rest of that divorce? Haven't decided yet what we should watch. I'm just calculating now time. Okay. I know internet cable sucks. Let's get started. We'll watch we'll finish watching the court case from yesterday. We have a little bit of that left and then we'll see where we get to. That's the best thing to do, basically. Finish what we start. Finish what we start. Ooh, super laggy. Why?
Mr. Schaefer, do you have it up in front of you?
I have exhibit 3.
Okay, thank you very much. Jessica, can you identify what this is?
This is our Marshall Community Credit Union joint account.
Okay, and even though this says just Clyde on here, you were joint on this account, correct?
Correct. I'm still a joint user on this account.
Okay, and this is with which bank?
Marshall Community Credit Union.
Okay, I'd like to move for admission of exhibit 3.
Mr. Schaefer? No objection to 3.
Okay, plaintiff's exhibit 3 is admitted.
Okay, Jessica, looking at this, this begins on which date, this exhibit?
January 1st, 2022 to January 31st, 2022.
Okay, and going through the rest of this, this is the statements ending in the month of which month?
It is November 1st, 2022 to November 30th, 2022.
Okay, and so this spans for approximately a year in 2022, is that correct?
Correct.
And tell me, what did you and Clyde use this account for?
Um, just another joint checking account we utilized.
Okay. If we're looking here, it looks like at the top here, there was a loan for a vehicle. Is that correct?
Correct. We have most of our loans through MCCU, hence the account.
Okay. All right. And it does in fact indicate here that you are a joint owner. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, did anyone else make deposits into this account that you're aware of?
No,
Okay. And is this the account that your paychecks were deposited into?
we did transfer my direct deposit to this account. I'm not exactly sure of the month that happened, but this is where it was easier to pay the mortgage out of this account. So we would use my paycheck to pay the mortgage.
Okay. I'm looking at a transaction here, January 19th.
Hopefully the audio is a little bit better now. My computer is just desperately killing, it like hates me. Let me just hold on and try and change one other thing. Anyways, that's the best. That's the best I can do at the moment. Hi, Mikey. I hope you're doing well. You're lucky not to stream today. Is that what you said? You can just set your own schedule. I thought you were your own boss. So we're just finishing up this divorce. This paperwork does look like it's from 1995. Not that that wasn't a decent year. I was 6. Oh no, 7. God, I'm not very good at math, as I've said before. Anyways, like I said also before, we're not finishing this case because I didn't get it all. So that's just the way it is. But we're going to finish what we have and then we'll see where we're at. Also, tell me what you had for dinner or what you're having for dinner. I guess on the East Coast, it's already like what, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock. So that's like dinner time. I mean, some older people have probably already eaten.
Can you indicate what this says?
Share draft deposit from cash received.
Okay, so Marshall does indicate if cash was paid in, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and just for January 19th, it looks like the amount of what was deposited in cash?
1,200.
Okay, and did you make that deposit?
No,
Do you know if Clyde made that deposit?
if I didn't, then he had to have.
Again, Your Honor, speculation.
Okay. Ms. Greenleaf Flora, what's your response?
Your Honor, I don't see how, if only her and Mr. Lampkin had access to this account, I think it's an accurate assumption that Mr. Lampkin made the deposit.
Well,
That's
I guess we can't just assume that.
We
Quite
could have-
frankly, I think that any third parties could make deposits as well. Not withdrawals, but I know that anyone else could make deposits.
Okay, I can clarify, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Lampkin, do you know if anyone else made any deposits into this account?
No, not at all.
Did you ever talk to Mr. Lampkin about him making any
Okay, so first things first, what she technically just said was that no, she doesn't know if anybody else ever made any deposits. And the guy is right. Hold on, I'm just trying to fix something. Oh, I guess it's already down. Oh, it was so bright, but it's really in my real life that it's bright. It is, of course, when I worked at the bank, when somebody came in and wanted to deposit money into somebody's bank account, they most often would come in and they would have the bank card number, which they're not allowed to have and doesn't identify a bank account at all. And they would get so pissed off when we would not allow them to use the bank card to put money into the into the bank account. Now, I guess at this day and age, you could probably, I mean, in Canada, you can send an Interact money transfer. And so that just goes to somebody's cell phone number and they can deposit it into any bank account they want. You don't have to worry about what bank account they have. And it's all connected through all the banks in Canada. But in when I was working at the bank, people like grandparents often would come in and say, I want to deposit money into my grandkids' account. And they would put over the number, and I would know immediately looking at it that it was a bank card number, not a bank account number. And while, of course, I can look up the bank account from that bank card, that's the breach of privacy that you're not allowed to do. Because what if the person has 10 accounts? What if like, how do you then you're in this discussion about what bank account you want to have the money go into. Oh, there's all these things. Anyways, I just remembered that when working at the bank. Like people can come in and deposit money into the bank, but you got to have more than just even usually a name. Like you couldn't go in, at least in Canada when I worked there, you couldn't go in and say, hey, can you deposit $100 into Joe Smith's account without Joe Smith's account number, right?
Cash deposits into this account.
I mean, he would tell me that he deposited money into the bank. That's as far as that went.
Okay. And you went over the year statements from January of 2020 of 2022 for this account. Is that correct?
Correct.
Approximately how much was deposited into this account?
30,000.
And when you say that 30,000 was deposited, were those cash deposits?
I think cash and check combined,
Okay.
minus my paychecks.
Okay. When you were calculating that, you deducted your paychecks?
Correct.
Okay. So you deducted your paychecks. Did you deduct anything else when you were calculating those deposits?
I also didn't include transfers as what, like I did with the other accounts.
Okay. So you just included deposits, not transfers.
Only, correct.
Okay. And you said approximately how much was deposited in 2022?
30,000.
Okay. So we had about 200,000, 220,000, and another 30,000 of
Correct.
deposits. Do you know or have personal knowledge about where that money came from?
Jobs.
Hold on. Remember how he's a construction guy? Please don't tell me that this dumb bitch doesn't understand the through and through-ness of this lifestyle. Yeah, maybe Buddy gets all the money to buy the supplies for his construction gigs, but he doesn't get that money. He's lucky enough to be able to filter this through his account and in one great scenario get maybe some points on it. I'm being serious, like legitimately, or just sort of get a big like, the bank sort of appreciates you, but you really spend it all. Like there's no it's not income. Well, it might be is it income? No. It's I don't know, if you're an independent contractor, it seems to be to me that that would just be the cost of goods and the item like you're supplying. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit more nuanced than I thought. Anyways, that's why I just used to work at the bank. Listen, I'll take anybody's money as long as they have enough of the info. And I would work so hard to get people info, but you can't break rules certain rules. You really can't. Like I couldn't because it's so simple to track back and see. But bending rules? Oh, mm, I am excellent at bending rules. Oh my goodness. For example, just as a one little side story before we get finished, um, I went to the bank recently and I forgot my bank card. It's lost, let's be honest, but I don't think anybody stole it. And it saves me a lot of money when I don't have it. So I'm not worried about getting another one. But when I went to the bank to do this in-person transaction, I realized, oh, I don't have my bank card. So the girl looks me up in the system and asked me to verify my address. And I give her my address and she's like, no. And I'm like, okay. I give her a different address and she's like, no. And I'm like, this is interesting because pretty sure of what address is in this computer system. And she's like, I'll give you a hint. And I'm like, okay. And then she just tells me the street name. And I was like, what? And it didn't even register with me and she tells me it again. And I'm again thinking like she's giving me a hint. Like it never occurred to me that she was giving me the actual street name. And then the third time she says it, and I was like, oh. And I said, oh. And here's the thing, I bank at this bank that I used to work at. And so I know the computer system. And we talk about it sometimes when I go in there and laugh because I still remember how to access all the different parts of the computer system and I know all the numbers. I said to her, I was like, oh, you're looking at my old account from back in the day from when I was working at the bank in 2004. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, how long have you worked here? 6 months. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, go like this. And I literally told her where to go in the old computer system. And she was like, oh my God, that worked. And I was like, yeah, that's right. And then she was like, and I was like, we should probably merge those profiles, but I don't have time to deal with it right now. So maybe ask a supervisor about that, but I gotta go. But that's how old the bank system is at my bank anyways, because it's still the same fucking system. And I laugh because she'd only worked there for 6 months, but I still, and she goes, oh my God, you still remember? I was like, you never forget. I can remember that entire back end system. Like it was like a DOS based system, all numbers and letters. Apparently perfect for my brain.
Okay. When you say jobs, you mean it was
Payment.
your understanding that these were payments from Mr. Lampkin for his work?
Yeah, again, Your Honor, leading question, and there's no foundation that she knows.
Okay, Ms. Greenlee-Flora?
I'll rephrase the question, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lampkin. We've already asked these questions about the other accounts, but in total, did you and Rob ever talk about how much he had deposited for 2022?
I mean, during the course of the year, he would tell me that he got a check for a job. He would deposit that check and let me know.
Okay.
Or cash.
And cash or checks?
Correct.
Okay. And these are the payments that are appearing into this account?
Exactly.
In the other
Again,
one?
objection, Your Honor.
I'll object too. I think this is also why you go ahead. Oh, Bev, they're still using DOS. This is a giant bank, billions of dollars every quarter traded, and they're still using the DOS system. And I told her, I was like, and if I say the name of the system, I'm sure I've talked about it before. Chris, thank you so much, by the way. I just saw your email. Thank you. But seriously, I'm just gonna say it. The computer system was named Coins, Coins, which I just thought was such a beautiful little play on words. And it is absolutely a DOS-based system that you open up, and it has like 1 to 40 numerical codes on the first menu, and then each menu below that would have unlimited number of separate uh, separate um options. And what I'm explaining is like, I guess when I started at the bank in the early 2000s, we also had a point and click system. It's also what they use now. So it's not anything fabulous, but it was a point and click system where people put in their bank cards and up pops a beautiful overlay of their name, all of their bank accounts, all of those different things. But the problem with that system then and now is that that system is slow, a little bit clunky. And so they remained and left in the back end DOS system that worked on the banking framework. You have to understand this is money. Um, so it was very difficult and apparently impossible for them to get rid of this DOS-based system that also runs the back end. And so anything you can do in the front end, like in the beautiful sort of point and click type system, you can also achieve in the back end DOS system, just in a very much quicker dirty way. You ain't getting receipts. You're not double checking things to match names to things. You're typing in a bank card number or an account number, and you are moving money, and it happens in one click. And that's actually what was so difficult about a DOS-based system for a banking system, is that it's very easy to lose track of where things go if you hit enter by accident too many times. Like, can you imagine this day and age, like people using that? And so, anyways, but yet it remains as a you know a back support for a lot of banking institutions, especially in Canada. We have a very different banking system than in the United States. We're talking 5 major banks, maybe 7 for all of the country. Everybody banks with one of those banks. And the bank that I worked for is in the top 5 in terms of, and billion, like I'm talking all across the world makes lots of money, and it's all in this one back end system. I have a lot of funny stories about that too, because, uh, well, anyways, we'll talk about that later. But let's just say, unless somebody knows to look in an area, you can almost create infinite places for things like debits and credits.
Leading question.
Okay, if you can rephrase, Ms. Greenlee Thor.
I'll strike that. All right, the deposits that you calculated, Jessica, what are the total of those, if you can add those up for approximately for 2022?
$450,000 in deposits.
Okay, so about $450,000 in deposits were made into your bank accounts that were joint with Mr. Lampkin and his business account in 2022.
Correct.
Okay, and you subtracted out of those deposits your income and any transfers.
Correct.
Okay. I would like to put up Exhibit 8. Mr. Schaefer, this is the Huntington ending in 4077 for 2023.
Hello. Mr. Schaefer?
Yeah, one moment, Your Honor. Yeah, I got some 2 days ago, I understand.
Okay, I just
I'm
wanted to,
sorting through them at the moment.
Yeah, they were also originally from your office, Mr. Schaefer. Okay, and so
This is for,
was 7. Can you
Okay, I've located 8, Your Honor.
okay.
Thank you. Ms. Lampkin, can you identify what this is?
yes, this is our joint Huntington checking account.
Okay, and this is the same one ending in 4077 that we were looking at previously with Exhibit 1, is that correct?
Correct.
So this Exhibit 1 was for 2022, correct?
Correct.
And what is Exhibit 8 including or encompassing?
This is for 2023.
Okay, so this was, I'm gonna go down to the first statement here. This is dating from January of 2023 through what date?
Through September 18th of 2023.
Okay, and so these are the this is the account activity for that time period, correct?
Correct.
I'd like to move for admission of Exhibit 8.
Yeah, the exhibit 8 that I had received is a statement from August 18th of 23 to September 1 of 23. I guess that's the same front page. You're indicating that this includes the January.
Yep, if you go down to the last page or the last statement in there.
Okay, so they're back.
Yeah, yep, they're newest to oldest in this one.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, plaintiff's exhibit 8 is admitted, there being no objection.
Thank you. Ms. Lampkin, again, this is your joint statement with Mr. Lampkin, is that correct?
Correct.
And this was the account, in 2023, what were you and Mr. Lampkin using this account for?
Typically this is how I received child support. He would transfer money, or also if he helped with any of the extracurricular activities, he would help transfer money here. I would then transfer it to my personal Huntington account.
Okay. If you know, were there any deposits during 2023, during this time period, that were not for activities or support from him?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
During this time period, so from January 2023 through September of 2023, as you went through these statements, were there any deposits that you noted that were not for child support or the children's activities?
Yes, there were other deposits made.
What other kinds of deposits were made?
As you could see here on September 8th, that deposit was the proceeds of the sale of our diner.
Okay, so there's this kind of deposit. What else?
Clyde also made other deposits in the account.
Okay, what other kinds of deposits?
I'm unsure where those monies came from.
What other kinds of deposits did he make? Well, that is a good question, but we don't like to talk about when he makes extra deposits. I'm a terrible person. I'm also thankful that my divorce is finalized and that I'm not worried about going through something like this where someone's like, so tell me here. Oh, I don't even want to say it. Like, explain this payment to me. Explain that payment to me. I don't want to. The things we do for money are the things we do for money. If he's bringing in $200,000 to $300,000 a year and taking care of his family, I would hope that he's doing it well. If there's, if she's, whatever. We're not even gonna fucking find out because I fucked up and we don't get the whole case and I'm mad about it still.
Do know he made deposits to the account.
Okay. Let me look here. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of January. When approximately did you and Clyde stop using this account to deposit your income as a married couple, if you know?
I mean, I stopped using this immediately. I had my paycheck transferred over to my personal account only as soon as we divorced. So, or sorry, as soon as we separated. So I think in December, I got my own account.
Okay, so let's start back here at the first statement for 2022. This is dating 12/20/22 to.
I'm gonna tell you something. As a lady who's never shared an account with a man, I just wonder what that would feel like to see all their money too. I've never done that. In any relationship that I've ever been in, I've never, but also they've never seen my bank account, and I think that's a good thing. I don't feel like explaining what's in my bank account. My theory is as long as you show up with the money that you have, like if you've agreed to whatever you've agreed to, as long as you show up with that, whatever, maybe this wrong. I don't know. I'm going to tell you something. I spent a lot of time working at the bank. I saw a lot of people. Like, you have to understand, this is just pre-online banking. This is in the heyday of if you want to know for sure, you go to the bank. You talk to a lady. I was that lady. You talk to her across the bank and she tells you what's going on. And that was the the best scenario instead of phoning online banking or going on online banking. Like I worked at the bank in the heyday of people having money because it was pre-08 recession. So there was, oh, let me just tell you, there was something special about working in the finance industry. Yeah. Before the recession, it was a beautiful time, sort of a wild west of finance, and beautiful when you worked in finance because every single week they paid us extra money. Oh my God, when I worked at the bank, they were giving away trips to Hawaii every year to different bank tellers. What? Trips to Hawaii? I'm sorry. Hi, Tony. Um, and the bank basically influenced my sort of like, listen, the bank influenced me. I influenced the bank. It was a real give and take relationship that I don't regret at all. But in Canada, you have to understand something versus in the United States. A bank in Canada, you can't own a bank. I don't give a fuck who you are. You can't own the bank. No. Now, you can work for a bank. You could be a CEO of a bank if you work real hard at it. But you ain't gonna be you cannot own your own bank in Canada. It just doesn't work like that. We have different laws. Now in the States, if you have enough money, you can set up a bank and fucking put a sign out there and just ask for customers to come on in, and nobody's pissed about that right away. I mean later people get pissed about that. All kinds of people get upset about that. But at the beginning, you all good. In Canada, you can't do that. That's not acceptable. Anyways, so why I'm saying that is because the bank that I worked for was not like some little bank. Like it was a huge, huge bank. Anyways, so many funny stories about working at the bank. Actually, I'll tell one last story before we continue on with this. This story has literally nothing to do with banking, except that it occurred in a bank. But I worked at many branches, many, like all of them. But uh, the main branch that I worked at, that I started at, was in a mall. Oh, yeah, that's right. I spent the early 2000s working in a mall in Canada, and which I just loved, loved it. Anyways, um, the this was super weird. I was going on my lunch to the food court to get lunch at the food court. And as I was walking out, there was this gentleman who was at the bank machine and he was acting very weird. And as an employee who was like proudly wearing my name tag still, because I'm like obsessed with fucking, oh, we had an Orange Julius. Yes, we certainly did. But who was obsessed with sort of being a bank employee, like I was just proud of that. I uh I was like, "Sir, did you need a hand?" And he literally, I remember this. He rolled off of the bank machine. He did a full 360. And he rolled off the bank machine and he walked into the bank. And I was just like perplexed, but also like recognizing that he left his wallet on the bank machine that I'm looking at. So I go ahead and I um grab his wallet and all the stuff from the bank machine and I take it inside and I'm like looking around for him and I'm like, where the heck did this guy go? Like, where did he go? There's only so many places in the branch that the guy could go, and I'm not seeing him anywhere. I'm not seeing him. I'm not seeing him. So I say to our assistant manager, who we work together on, like, and he was 22, but in my mind, as a 15 or 16-year-old, he was just like this old man, you know. And I said, "Hey, so and so, um, I don't know where this guy went. He went into the branch, but I don't know where he went." And so he's like, "Okay, let's go check it out." And so we open the doors to the back area, which is like where the staff room is. And we look in the bathrooms, nobody's there. And he's like, "Stay down here." And I'm like, what is even up there? And I remember like upstairs, there's this little brochure room and a lunch room. And I we walk up the stairs and I'm of course didn't stay where I was told. I immediately followed him because I'm like a 16-year-old girl and I'm like, woo. So and so the assistant manager goes first and he goes into the lunchroom and nobody's in there. And I'm like, what the fuck? Where the hell did this guy go? And then we open up the brochure room door. And so the brochure room was where we kept all the brochures. And we had so many fucking brochures in there. It was just this like room wall to wall of brochures. And he was smoking in this brochure room. And I'll never forget because my boss, who was not, I mean, I remember now he's 22 years old. He's not any anything like incredible. He was just a regular guy. He really de-escalated the situation well. He said to the gentleman, he goes, "Oh, sir, you're not allowed to smoke in here." And the guy was, I was like, "What?" And the guy was like, "Oh, okay, no problem." And he's like, "Yeah, if I can get you to go ahead and put that down and we'll just get you out of here." And I was like, oh, wow, look at that. I like scurried down the stairs out the door. And I did get his wallet and I handed it to my assistant manager as he's coming down. And they left and he gave him his wallet. And I said to him, I was like, that that was crazy. And he goes, yeah, we're putting in a request for a lock on that door today. And I remember after that, there was a lock on that door ever since. And of course, we worked at a tiny little branch in a mall. Like you never thought you really needed because it was behind this wall. Oh, so funny. That guy smoking in the brochure room. Just again, like the guy handled it perfectly because he didn't like get mad at him, like, what the fuck are you doing in here, dude? Like, you need to get the fuck out. He's just like, oh, sir, you're not allowed to smoke in here. If you could just take that outside, if you could just put that out. I was just like, oh my God, love it. You don't need to make a big deal about things. Just there we go. Anyways, let's finish watching this. If you're just joining us, make sure that you hit the like button. It's free. Did you know that? That actually it's free. I actually have a challenge for all of the. I would love to see who has liked the most videos. I don't mean my videos, I just mean in general. On your YouTube channel or on your YouTube stats, it should say liked videos and it should give you a number of numbers. I would love to see who's got so many. Let's think about how to share that together.
119.23, correct?
Correct.
And we're looking at the deposit activity here, correct?
Correct.
Can you indicate what kinds of deposits were made for this statement?
I did not make these deposits. I'm unsure where they came from, though. I know that Clyde deposited them because I didn't, but I don't know where they came from.
Okay. When you went through the 2023 statements for this account, did you approximate how much in deposits went into this account?
About 20,000, and that's taking out the sale of the diner proceeds.
And that's that 218,000 that you pointed out here?
Correct.
Okay. Did you deduct the child support deposits?
Yes, I did not include any transfers.
Okay. So when we look here at this first statement here on the first page, when it says internet transfer, you deducted all of these transfers from those deposits?
Yes, exactly. So the $1,000, that top one is what we consider child support.
Okay. And going on down here, if you remember from August, looks like, do you remember what any of these deposits were for or from?
I think at that time he was helping pay half of some of the homecoming. And also at that time, I think there were.
Can somebody explain what homecoming is to me? In Canada, we don't have that. So I don't, what is homecoming? Also, hi, Jim. What's homecoming? Is my question. 382 likes, Lisa. That seems low to me. I'll say that my YouTube liking is over the thousands. When you like go to your videos and you hit liked videos, I think Vicky has over 5,000, right? Like some people have lots. And it just might be how many videos you watch versus not. Whoa. Oh, fuck's sakes. Just fucking things up now. Because if I go to you and then it says liked videos 4,554, but that's on the channel that I only started in July, right? Like if I went to the other channel, I wonder how many likes I would have on that channel. I wonder how many likes I would have on that channel. Um, Also, we are very close. We're on 6,000. Ooh, Miss Carrie's got 21,000. See, I know there's some people that have old accounts that have lots. But again, I've had 4,500 and that's since July, since I created that account. Um, Switch account. I'm gonna switch an account. Also, guys, we're close to 800 on this channel. If you're not subscribed yet, please do that. Weird. My other channel only has. All right, we'll talk about that later. Anyways, we are going to end the poll soon, so go ahead and take your votes now in the poll, I guess. I'm gonna try and end it momentarily.
Some sport fees he also helped with and transferred some money for.
Okay, but you deducted all of these kinds of
Yes.
deposits when you calculated that.
Correct. I only calculated his deposits.
Okay, and so even in 2023, he still made about, you said 20,000 worth of deposits.
Correct.
Okay. Going to exhibit 7. Mr. Schaefer, this is the business account ending in 7489 from Huntington. Let me know when you've got it.
I will let you know. I have exhibit 7.
Okay, Jessica, can you identify what this is?
Yes, this is the C Square Construction business checking account for Huntington.
Okay, and this is this now notes actually C Squared Construction on it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and what are the ending account numbers?
7489.
Okay, and this is the same account as exhibit 2. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I want to go again to the date that this encompasses. So this ends on what date?
September 30th, 2023.
And this exhibit begins, if we go back to the first statement here, on what date?
January 1st, 2023.
So this is the statement through September for this bank account.
Correct.
Okay, I'd like to move for admission of exhibit 7.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer,
Just one moment to check the date, Sean.
okay,
No objection, Your Honor.
okay. Plaintiff's exhibit 7 will be admitted.
Okay, Jessica, as we talked about before in the prior exhibit, this is just for Mr. Lampkin's business, is that correct?
Correct.
Were you still an authorized user on this account?
I was actually removed. I removed myself in December, but Clyde had to also sign off on that. And I don't think he did so until June of 2023.
Okay, so when you say December, make sure you say the year. What year did
I'm
you?
sorry, 2022. Correct.
Okay, so you tried to remove yourself from this account.
Exactly.
Okay, did you make any deposits to this account in 2023?
Never.
Okay, did you ever make any deposits into this account?
No.
Okay, and this account looks like the name of the account was actually changed from Clyde Robert Lampkin II to Clyde Robert Lampkin DBA C Squared Construction, correct?
Correct.
And what is this address?
That is my home address.
Okay, so the home address is still listed as the address for this account.
Correct.
Okay. Did you go through all of the deposits that were made in 2023 to this account?
I did.
Okay, and what was the total amount of the deposits into this account?
From January 2023 to the end of September 2023, it totaled around 180,000.
Okay, and how did you come up with that figure?
I just added all of the deposits, and then, as I mentioned previously, if there was a Square Inc. in the other credit section, that was typically a payment for a job, so I included that.
Okay, so you included the Square Inc. deposits as well as any of the what appear to be ATM or branch deposits.
Exactly. No transfers were included.
Okay, all right, and so the total for that was, I'm sorry, say that again, what amount?
180,000.
Okay, and that's just through September, correct?
Correct.
And we do not have the statements for October, November, or December.
No.
Okay. I'd also like to put up Exhibit 6, Mr. Schaefer.
Okay.
It's the Marshall Community Credit Union account.
Thank you so much, Chris. Yay! That's so awesome. Oh my gosh. I so appreciate that. That reminds me, let me work on that too.
Yeah, I had that.
Jessica, can you identify what this is?
This is a personal account for Clyde through Marshall Community Credit Union.
And this is a different account from your joint account, is that correct?
Correct.
And did you have any personal knowledge of this account?
No.
No. Do you know if that was this provided via subpoena?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to move for admission of Exhibit 6.
Okay,
I
Mr.
don't think the
Schaefer,
proper foundation is laid if she has no personal knowledge, Your Honor.
okay. Ms. Greenlee Clore,
I'll continue. Jessica, whose name does the statement appear to be in?
Clyde Lampkin II.
Okay, I'd like to move for admission to Exhibit 6.
okay, Mr. Schaefer,
I don't think the proper foundation is laid, Your Honor.
well, we could, Ms. Greenlee Clore, if you want to, wait until cross-examination or of the defendant, and then we could get it in. Or maybe Mr. Schaefer will at that time, I don't know. I just don't think there's a proper foundation at this point, just because his name appears.
Okay, I will go ahead and I will use that on my cross.
Okay,
All right, so Jessica, looking across the board at all of these accounts, you testified that in 2022, Mr. Lampkin had deposits of approximately 450,000. Is that correct?
Your Honor, again, leading questions,
well,
the attorney is giving the answer to the question.
well, if nothing else, it's asked and answered, so unless, ask whatever question you have, Ms. Greenlee Clore, but I don't need to rehash what we've already went over.
Thank you. I'm just totally making a total here. And Mr. Shaver, I'm just repeating what her prior testimony. Jessica, what was the total in deposits that we, so minus Exhibit 6, approximately what was the total in deposits you calculated through September between the two accounts at Huntington?
200,000.
Okay. So through September, just for those two accounts, there was another 200,000 deposited.
Correct.
Okay. In your opinion, during the marriage, or specifically during these 2 years, 22 and 23, how much was Mr. Lampkin making per year?
I'm sorry, say that again. Just want to make sure I heard correctly.
In your opinion, in 22 and 23, how much was Mr. Lampkin earning?
A lot. To an exact figure based off of the deposits, definitely over $650,000 worth of deposits.
And when you come up with that figure, is that for 2 years, both years?
2022 and 2023.
Okay. And the 23 was only through September.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Lampkin, and if you don't know, that's fine, but do you know if he was in charge of buying any sort of materials or equipment for his jobs?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And where did he purchase that from?
He would purchase from lumber places, Lowe's, Menards, those type of places, typically for materials.
Okay. And just to be clear, the totals that you gave here, those don't include the cash that he also carried around. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Mr. Lampkin was paying $1,000 per month in spousal support. When did he stop, or did he stop doing that?
September 2023 was the last $1,000 payment that I received from him.
Okay. Did you talk to him about that?
We did talk about that.
What did he say about that?
He told me he was instructed to stop paying me by his attorney because he has been overpaying me.
Okay. What about your tax returns? Are you familiar with what income was claimed for Mr. Lampkin's business on your tax returns?
Yes, typically around 22 to 30,000, depending on the year.
Were you involved in any of Mr. Lampkin's bookkeeping or any of that?
No.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like this court to know that I haven't asked you about?
In general, like overall.
About what I've asked you about. Mhm.
Okay, about the bank accounts or
The bank
everything?
accounts or your parenting time.
Um, no, I think there's really nothing additional, besides the fact that he does make a lot more money than I do. I've been struggling, paying for my bills and the children financially. Often at times I'm in the negative. I have 4 credit cards that have been closed because I was unable to make payments, whereas Mr. Lampkin has been able to continue his credit cards and thus
I'm
get
going to object.
more.
There's no foundation laid for these self-serving statement, John.
Green Lake Floor, what's your response?
I'll strike her testimony regarding Mr. Lampkin's, but I'll redirect with a more specific question. Ms. Lampkin, have you had any trouble paying your bills in the last year?
Yes, I have. It's been
Okay.
extremely difficult.
Have you had to borrow any money from any friends or relatives to make ends meet?
I have actually. I've had to borrow money from my mother and stepfather. I've had to borrow money from my current boyfriend to pay for a lot of different things, and I've had to then pay them back.
Okay. And have you asked Mr. Lampkin for help with any of this?
Repeatedly, yes.
What has been his response?
He's not going to help me.
Okay.
Again, Your Honor, relevance, apparently we had the property settled. I'm not sure why this is relevant.
It's relevant because Mr. Schaefer is trying to claim that there's a spousal support claim, and if we're looking at the need and ability to pay, that's certainly relevant.
Okay. Court will allow.
Okay. I have no further questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Schaefer, cross-examination.
Thank you. Let's work backward a little bit. You said that you had to buy, including from your boyfriend. Who's your boyfriend?
Justin Dew.
And Justin Dew is the person that you had an affair with in 2021. Is that correct?
Correct, but it did not proceed that whole span of time until now.
Well, you had an affair in 2021. You broke off, and then you began the affair again in 2022. Did you not?
I'm going to object to relevance of this, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer.
It's certainly relevant on 2 issues, Your Honor. It's relevant as to the morality, so the reason for the breakdown of the marriage, both under the and the issue of best interest for custody.
Okay, well, court will allow and overrule the objection, but again, on a limited basis.
So when did you begin your affair again with Mr. Dew after 2021?
December of 2022.
And has that continued on to the present time?
Correct.
And when did your affair in 21 begin?
November of 2021.
Okay, so you had about a year not seeing him, is that correct?
Correct.
And have you made him available to the children? Has he met the children?
Yes.
And has he stayed overnight at your home when the children are there?
Yes.
And how often is that?
I don't really know to an exact extent how often. The weeks he does not have his children, there are days that he does stay the night.
And what is the longest time period that he was staying continuously?
Maybe a few days, tops.
And during that time, well, strike that. There came a time that you learned that Mr. Dew was on the central registry, was there not?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did there come a time when you learned that he was on the central registry for abuse to children?
He is not.
My question is, did you come a time that you learned that he was on the registry?
No,
Would there come a time when you learned that there were accusations of impropriety that he had with children?
no,
You were not aware that he had some difficulty in that regard?
no.
Did you not talk to Mr. Lampkin, or Mr. Lampkin talked to you about that issue?
He brought it up. It's unfactual. And I said no, that I was unaware of
When
that.
did when
Yeah,
did
I'm
Mr.
gonna
Lampkin?
object to I'm gonna object to this. Mr. Schaefer can certainly ask Mr. Lampkin this, but my client's already asked, this questions have already been asked and answered.
Schaefer?
She finally answered that she was confronted by, and I'm just going to follow up on her answer.
Okay, well, follow up then.
Okay. When did he bring that to your attention?
Somewhat recently.
Well, can you narrow down what month, what year?
I'm not sure. Fall of 2023.
Fall of 2023. And did you check into the allegations of the impropriety of Mr. Dew?
I did.
Uh, Part of the property settlement agreement indicates that you must take Mr. Lampkin off of the Orchard Street property, his name off of the debt within 6 months from the date of the judgment. Is that not true?
That's true.
And you realize that that hampers him of gathering the ability to purchase a home. Are you aware of that?
No, he had enough cash to purchase his own home.
It would prohibit him from getting a loan if he has certain obligations with his name on the Orchard Street, correct?
He's never used his name he helped me get the loan for the account, but he would not be able to previously without using my own income as well.
I'm not sure that was the question. The question was, if he were to go out and get a loan at the present time, the fact that he has an obligation on the Orchard Street is going to affect his ability to get a loan.
I'm gonna object to this question as speculation, Your Honor. He's asking my client to speculate on what a lender might look at as far as giving Mr. Lampkin a loan, and my client can answer that.
Mr. Schaefer?
Let me ask her if she has the knowledge.
Okay.
Do you have the knowledge that that would affect his ability to get a loan?
I do not have the knowledge.
All right. You indicate that you make $84,000 a year. Do you have other income?
I do not.
You were freelancing at one point in time, were you not?
I was not. I've never made any monetary gain from freelancing.
Okay, my question is, did you freelance at some point in time?
No, I did jobs for other people without getting payment. It was just for helping people. I've never received any monies.
Did you receive any money from this freelancing?
No.
Did you receive any money from the helping that you did in relation to tickets?
That's freelancing. I resold Ticketmaster tickets.
And how often did you do that?
I've only done that twice in my life.
And
I gave Clyde
that
the
income?
proceeds.
Excuse me?
I gave Clyde proceeds from the Jack Harlow tickets.
My question is, did you declare that as income?
Not yet. I haven't filed taxes yet for 2023.
And when did you do this?
2023.
And how much did you make?
It's really only a couple thousand. a few thousand. I'm unaware of the exact amount.
And you said that you gave some of that money to Clyde?
Yes, and we were still trying to work things out. There was a part, we've sold one of the tickets, and he did receive part of that proceed.
And have you sent your income into any accountant at the present time for your income for 23?
No, not yet.
You participated, did you not, in filing joint returns in 21 and 22?
I would sign paperwork. He would have me go and sign it. Yes.
Well, you filed a joint return, did you not? And you signed.
Correct.
And in each of those years, the income, specifically in income in 22, was from the C square, was approximately $22,000. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you're aware that the gross amount in that year was somewhere in the $189,000 as gross income?
Nope. I was not aware of that.
Did you read the return?
No.
So are you suggesting that in 22 that which was filed jointly is inaccurate?
I'm just haven't looked at it. I signed the papers. I know that how much he typically says that he makes because he writes everything off. But I just signed the papers. I don't typically, I'm not the one who goes into the accountant's office, submits all the paperwork. I typically just sign it. I don't look at the figures, except I do know how much he has claimed.
Your Honor, I had submitted Exhibit B and Exhibit C as the joint returns for 22 and 21. And I would ask that they be brought up, and I would offer both of those into evidence.
Okay, well, we don't bring them up. You can bring them up, Mr. Schaefer, but we don't.
Well, okay, in the past you have, but I'll get arranged to do so. Ms. Lampkin, have you had an opportunity to look at Exhibit B that was provided?
I have not, to be honest.
You have or have not?
I have not.
Your Honor, maybe we take a so I can prepare to bring these up on this side.
Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we take a brief 10-minute recess and then we'll reconvene.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but I didn't get the rest of it. I'm still sad about it. I apologize, but we're starting something new. I already went over that when we watched the first part of this, but I fucked up. If you have the rest of those hearings, let me know. I'd be happy to say thank you. But I wish we had the rest of it. They sound like fucking dicks, don't they? To be honest with you. But what we're gonna watch tonight is something that is a 4-part series. We're gonna watch part 1 tonight. And it's not something I've watched before, so I beg you to indulge me together as we watch it. I also have to go flip over my stuff in the air fryer. I made wontons the other night for soup and air fryer wontons. They're in. So let's get started on this one. I don't know what it's about, but I heard it's pretty saucy.
Okay, it looks like we have everybody connected to audio. And so the court is calling 23-4-830, estate of Betty Grace Patton. Can I get announcements of counsel?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Corey Bryant on behalf of the applicant, Melanie Dake, Melody and Dake Patton. Ms. Dake is here as well, and then I'm joined by my co-counsel, Emily Taylor.
Okay, so you did the motion to remove,
Yes, ma'am.
and so Emily Taylor is your co-counsel,
Yes, Your Honor.
and Ms. Dake is your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and then I see we also have a Sherry Lund here. Is she one of your witnesses?
No. No, Your Honor. I'm just observing.
Oh, okay, fair enough. And we have Josh Patton.
Yes, Your Honor. Josh is the named as the successor executor in the will. We wanted him to be here just in case we got to that point.
Fair enough. Okay, did you want to start with an opening? So the executor is not here, nor anybody representing the executor.
Yes, Your Honor. That's what it appears, and somewhat what we expected because we have had trouble serving her.
I was reviewing the file before, so I saw the subservice and all that. So I just, that's why I was trying to figure out who was here. So did you want to make an opening statement?
I certainly can, Your Honor, and I would just say that briefly, we're here because the independent executor has not complied with her statutory duties as we lay out in the application. She's failed to return an inventory, which would have been due October 5th. She's not returned an affidavit or certificate of compliance, which would have been due September 13th. Separately, she's failed to provide her notice to her beneficiaries, and she's been without counsel since September 7th. In addition to that, we do have some very real concerns that she is mismanaging the estate or is going to be mismanaging the estate. She has taken some actions with regards to one of the beneficiaries in particular, as well as some of the property that is very concerning. And that really is why we are here today. I'm happy to go into any of that further. But again, it's detailed in our briefing exactly where we think the mismanagement and misconduct has occurred.
Okay, all right. So call your first.
All right. This time we'll call Melanie Dake.
Ms. Dake, can I get you to raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give me in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead, counsel.
Good afternoon, Ms. Dake. I assume you know who I am.
Yes.
And thank you for joining us today. Can you explain briefly your relationship to the decedent, Ms. Patton?
Okay. I was her daughter-in-law for 38 years. I divorced her son in 2019, but I had a daily ongoing relationship with Betty, even after the divorce and through the divorce the whole time, until she was moved to Melody's house, and Melody only let me talk to her one time in those several weeks. But we had a ongoing, constant relationship. She at one time had wanted me to be the executor, but I live in Georgia, and she thought I couldn't do it because I didn't live in Texas, which I understand. So, yeah. So,
and can you explain to the judge who Melody's relationship to the decedent?
Okay. Melody is her granddaughter, the daughter of her other son. Betty has two sons, and so Melody is my niece.
And you understand that Melody has been appointed as the executor of Betty's estate?
Yes.
And do you understand or do you know whether you are a beneficiary of Ms. Patton's estate?
I am. Yes, I get a flat amount, $65,000. And then all the rest of it is divided 50-50 between her two sons, David and Tim.
Okay. And has Melody ever provided you with a copy of Ms. Patton's will?
No, we had to find that ourselves.
And did you ask her to provide you with a copy of that?
Several times, yes.
Okay. Can you explain to me your conversations with Melody about the property at 6119 Braes Heather? And okay. I know that was a really general question, so I guess I'll ask do you know the property at 6119 Braes Heather?
Absolutely. Been visiting there since 1979.
And you understand that that property is part of Betty's estate?
Yes.
Okay, can we hang on 1 second?
Sure.
I have two
Yes.
people in the waiting room. One person is Melody Patton. Is that the
Okay.
executor?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and let her in. And then I have someone named Tim, Tim.
Yes, Your Honor, he's another beneficiary.
If it's Tim Patton, then yes, it is.
Okay, I'm gonna assume that's who it is. People normally don't just show up. Miss Patton, are you there? So it looks like she has not. Miss Patton, can you hear me?
I can now. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of technical issues. Give me 1 second.
Okay, so you hear me okay though, right? Yes.
I can hear you okay. Yeah, I was trying to, yes.
So we've started the proceeding. We're in the middle of examination of the witness, so that's just to catch you up on where we are. And Jackie,
Okay.
did you need
Let me-
something?
Sorry. Oh, hold on.
Hang on, Melody, hang on. Don't say anything. Jackie, did you need something?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you lit up like you couldn't hear us or something like that. Okay, so Ms. Bryant, go ahead with your direct.
Okay. I think Melanie, just to catch us back up, we were talking about the Braes Heather property. And I believe I had asked you to explain your understanding of the Braes Heather property and I guess its relationship to the estate.
Yes, Boyd and Betty bought that house in 1969. I started dated David in 1979, and I've been in and out of that house every year since then. That's where they lived all these years. Yes, it's definitely part of the estate. David was living in the house for a few months. They wanted to organize things and decide what Tim wanted, what David wanted, and then they need to sell the house. And Tim and David are in agreement about that.
Well, let's back up a little bit too, into the summer. After Melody was appointed, was David living at the Braes Heather house?
Yes, because David was living with his mother while she was living. And so she was totally fine if he stayed in the house afterwards. Her other son, Tim,
That's incorrect.
Hold on.
That's incorrect. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Miss Patton, so are you making an objection right now?
Yes, ma'am.
And so your objection is that's incorrect. That's overruled. You can take the witness on cross-examination.
Yes,
All right, Bryant, carry on.
Okay. So Melanie, you understand David was living in the house and over the summer, right?
Yes.
And I know we've established at this point you have seen a copy of Betty's will, right?
Yes. I had to get it from the lawyer who wrote it myself.
So in your reading of the will, do you understand who Betty devised that property to underneath her will?
Absolutely. David and Tim, 50% each.
Okay. So David's living in the property over the summer. Was there a point in time where you learned that their utilities had been cut off at the property?
They weren't actually cut off, but he received notices from all three, gas, electric, and water, that they were going to be disconnected for non-payment.
And did you ask, I'm sorry, Melanie, go ahead.
That's okay. I was just going to say at that point, I said, I'll pay it. And I took over paying in July, the gas, electric, and water.
Okay. And did you tell Melody that the gas, electric, and water had been shut off from the house at any point in time?
No, because they weren't actually shut off. We just got the notice that they were going to be shut off.
Okay.
So,
did you ever, or did you ever talk to Melody about payment of the utilities at the house, at the Braes?
Yes. She said there was no money in the estate. She could not pay them and was not going to pay them.
Okay. And then do you, at some point in August, did the AC go out at the house?
Yeah, there's only one central heat and AC unit at the house, and it went out. And so David, a couple of his friends brought in 2 window units and installed them in the house.
Okay.
Because I couldn't afford to replace the central heat and air.
Okay. And how long is David still living at the Brace Heather house?
No, he was removed in November, and now Tim is living in the house with a girlfriend and her dog.
When you say he was removed by the house, can you explain what you mean?
Yes, David had an outstanding warrant, but it was outstanding since 2019. And he had served some time in jail, and then they had that address. The 6119 Brace Heather was the only address they ever had for David on file. So they could have come and gotten him anytime they wanted him. But because it was his one and only offense, and he's over 60 years old and he's in bad health, basically the system didn't want him in jail. And so they never came to got him. Nobody reached out to him at all. And then, it was an outstanding warrant, though. It's a legitimate thing. And so Melody called the police and had David arrested on that outstanding warrant, and he was taken to jail. And while he was in jail, Tim moved into the house.
Okay, and do you know whether Melody ever served any type of notice on David at the house for telling him he needs to leave or that he was being evicted or any of that?
She did. She wrote it up just on a computer and signed it herself, just a paper saying that she wanted him out.
Okay.
But there was no reason for him to be out. David and Tim each have equal rights to be in the house.
Do you know whether David was ever formally evicted from the property?
No, he was only taken away because of the outstanding warrant.
And when he got out of jail, did he go back to the property?
No, because Tim was already living there and they had changed the locks on every door, including on the garage.
Okay. I want to back up a little bit to when you hired Emily Taylor to represent you in this case. And if I recall, or actually, would you please tell the court at what time you hired Emily? And I just want to know what date you hired her to represent you, or just an estimate. I don't want to go into necessarily why or anything that you talked about. Just when did you approximately hire Emily to represent you?
I don't actually remember when. May or June, I think. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Do you recall?
Betty died in March. I think it was May or June. I know I had a lawyer when Melody was sworn in as executrix on June 15th.
Okay. Okay. So after you hired Emily to represent you in this case, did you talk to Melody at all about Emily's representation of you in the case?
Yes, Melody was very upset that I had a lawyer. She said I was bullying her by having a lawyer. And I said, all I want is for Betty's will to be carried out exactly as written, for exactly what Betty wanted done with her money and all her assets to be done exactly right. Melody had some verbal agreements with Betty, and she has over and over told us that she wants us to go according to what Melody says with verbal agreements with Betty instead of the written will. She did not want to do probate. She did not want the will to be processed. But there's nothing but verbal agreements, and that's just according to her. So I think we ought to go with what the will is written and what it says.
Okay. Did you ever receive an inventory from Melody?
I object to that.
What's your objection?
I object to her about the property being in the will.
That's overruled. You can cross-examine on that.
Thank you.
Next
Yes,
question.
Melody, did you ever receive an inventory from Melody?
No, not at all.
Okay. Have you ever received any type of notice from Melody directed to you in your capacity as a beneficiary of the estate?
No, not at all. And also did not receive the will from her.
Right,
We had
right.
to find that on our own.
right? And we discussed that earlier, I think, if you recall. Do you know, on your own personal knowledge, do you know if David has ever received a copy of the inventory from Melody?
No, he has not. We talk every day.
Do you know if David ever received a copy of the will from Melody?
No, he did not.
Okay. Do you know if David ever received a notice from Melody that was directed to him in his capacity as a beneficiary of the estate?
No, he did not.
Okay. Give me 1 second here. Melanie, are you still paying for the utilities at the Braceheather house?
Yes, I paid it. They were all due around December 1st. And so I paid, gas, electric, and water that were due December 1st. They'll be due again about January 1st.
But your understanding is David has not been living at that property since November, correct?
Right. So Tim and I have talked, and Tim is going to take over the utilities for starting in January.
To the best of your knowledge, as you sit here today, do you know whether the AC has ever been fixed at the Braceheather property?
I don't think it has, but Tim lives in the house, so he would know.
Okay. Have you ever received any distributions from Melody as the executor of the estate?
No, nothing.
To your knowledge, has David received any distributions from Melody?
No.
Okay. I want to go back, if we can, briefly to when David was, when David left the house. Okay. To the best of your knowledge, what prompted Melody to send the notice to vacate to David?
Okay. I had talked on the phone with Matt and Melody. I think you have transcripts of those conversations. They were furious that I had a lawyer and that I was going to move to try to have Melody removed because she wasn't doing any of her executor responsibilities. And I live in Georgia. They couldn't really get to me to do anything. So, but they know that I have an ongoing relationship with David, even though we're divorced. And they said that if I did not call off having Melody removed as executrix, and if I did not cancel having a lawyer completely, then they would call the police about David's outstanding warrant and have him arrested. So it was just to get back at me because I have a lawyer.
Okay. And so do you remember around when those conversations occurred?
Oh, goodness. November 5th was a Sunday. We talked several times that day. That's the main ones I remember, but there were earlier conversations too.
And when you say we talked, who are you referring to?
Me talking to Matt and Melody on the phone at the same time.
Okay.
Matt is her, they're not married, her boyfriend, I guess, but they've lived together for 11 years. So.
Okay. And when you say Matt, do you know his last name?
Kotis, Kotis.
Okay. So in your conversations with Matt and Melody on, we think November 5th, they specifically mentioned to you your application to have Melody removed as the executor.
Yes.
Is that right? Yes.
Yes, they were aware of it, but they haven't been officially, well, she has not been officially served because they keep avoiding being served. So I guess that the sheriff had put a notice on the gate, and that's how they even knew about it. I don't know how they knew because she had not been served.
Okay. Okay, give me 1 second here. Your Honor, I think at this time we can pass the witness.
Okay, so before we move forward, Miss Patton, let me get you off mute so I can hear you. Okay, Miss Patton, so I know that you were involved in this as the executor or the personal representative of the estate. I don't know what other kind of roles you have, maybe individually, if you're a beneficiary, if you are a creditor, anything like that. So the first thing, because you didn't file any kind of written answer, I need to find out what capacity are you appearing here in today? Are you appearing individually in some capacity? Or are you appearing as the executor of the estate?
Yes, both.
Both. Okay. So as the executor of the estate,
I am,
ma'am,
sorry to interrupt you.
it's okay. But
I don't have a
but
lawyer
don't do
though.
it again. It's okay, but don't do it again. So as the executor of the estate, you have to be represented by counsel, so you cannot be here in that capacity. So individually, what is your individual capacity today that you're here in?
Well, I'm a creditor.
You're a creditor of the estate. Okay.
And also beneficiary as well.
Wonderful. So in those capacities, I will allow you to cross-examine Miss Dake, okay? And please understand that cross-examining doesn't mean making a statement or arguing with. It means asking her questions. So make sure whatever you say kind of has a question mark at the end of it. Otherwise, it's not a question and we're getting into something else. Okay.
If your honor, excuse me, I did want to object. As far as I understand, Miss Patton is not a beneficiary of the estate.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. May I say something?
No, you can ask questions at this
I have
point.
a question.
That objection is overruled. She's telling me she's a beneficiary. If that turns out not to be true, then I'll take that into consideration along with everything else. Ms. Patton, you can ask Ms. Dake questions now.
I have a request as executor to
You
have
can't make any request as executor because your lawyer has to do that. You cannot represent the estate without a lawyer.
Right, that's exactly my point, is that I don't feel comfortable discussing any of this without a lawyer.
Okay. So you don't have any questions in your individual capacity to Ms. Dake? Because if somehow this is a request for continuance to not do this today, you did not file any sort of answer with the court. You showed up late to the hearing. We had already started before you got here. So your request is untimely and that's denied. So if you have any questions to ask Ms. Dake as an individual, as a beneficiary, or as a creditor, you can ask those questions at this time. If you don't want to take this opportunity, that's your business.
I do want to, and
Okay.
I would like the opportunity to counter the questions that pertain to me as beneficiary or creditor. I'm not sure which those are, but whatever.
Do you have any questions? Because you should ask her questions.
Yes.
So it's time to do that.
Okay. Some of the information that she gave was incorrect, but I'm not
You're
sure
making
if
a
I can answer
statement. You're making a statement. You're not asking her a question. You're still talking to me.
Okay.
This is a time procedurally where you can ask Miss Dake questions.
Okay. Melanie, did you read the will?
Yes.
Okay. And you are aware that the house was required to be sold upon Betty's death?
Yes.
And I was unable to, okay, well, now I'm executor. I'm confused as to what I can say and not say.
You can ask Miss Dake questions.
Okay. Give me one second, please. Was fidelity in the will, Melanie?
No, fidelity is outside probate, outside the will.
Okay. And so, I'm trying to gather my thoughts. I'm sorry. Are you aware that, are you aware of the, I'm sorry.
Melody, Tell them your husband is sitting right here and ask for me to help you because I
Okay,
understand.
so sir, you are interrupting the proceedings right now. You have named yourself as,
How to do it, and he doesn't have money for these extra.
so I have just muted him because he is yelling at the court. And the individual that has chosen to ignore me and to yell at the court, I am going to give you a warning. I hope right now that you're not yelling so you can hear what I'm saying. I can and will hold you in contempt for interfering in court proceedings. Just because we are appearing via Zoom does not make this any less important or procedurally proper than appearing in a courtroom. I absolutely will not have the court disrespected, and you are doing such. So even though I know who you are, you've identified yourself. Normally, I would have already held you in contempt. I am giving you a warning. I would like your wife to be able to present her case, and I'm trying to give her the opportunity to do that. You are not being helpful, nor is the dog that's barking in the background at your house. So if you would like to help your wife right now, I would recommend that y'all follow the court's standing orders that are applicable to Zoom cases and get all things that might make noise out of the room so we can hear what your wife is trying to say and not what you are trying to say. Miss Patton, is this a good time for me to ask you to go off mute?
I'm very sorry, Your Honor.
That you can't control what other people do. I am not holding that against you. So I don't know what you were doing before we got to that point, but I do know you were cross-examining Miss Date. So go ahead and keep doing that.
Okay, may I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. Okay. So I do have my husband available to help me because he is my power of attorney and he's better at explaining some things, but if you don't want to talk with him, that's okay.
Okay, so being a power of attorney doesn't make you an attorney. And that it would be the illegal practice of law unless he is licensed to be your attorney, in which case I would be happy to let him represent you. But the first thing I'm going to need is him to make an appearance, tell me his bar number, and then we can proceed from there. Is he able to do that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so then again, you can ask Miss Date questions.
Okay. So Melanie, are you aware of the Fidelity distributor inheritance?
Yes.
Okay, can you explain what you're aware of?
Okay. That the Fidelity is IRA accounts that was in Betty's name, and it is outside of probate, outside of the will. So it did not have to wait for probate to be finished. And the way we found out about it is that Tim, his mother, had told him before she died that there was money with Fidelity, that would be divided among the six of them. Tim and his two daughters, which is Melody and Christina, and David and his two sons, which is Joshua and Nicholas. So at some point, several months after Betty died in March, from my understanding from talking with Tim, he was asking Melody about the Fidelity accounts because we had not received any information or anything. And he knew that the Fidelity accounts did not have to wait for the probate process. So that money should have been available to each of the six of them very quickly. So Melody gave the information to Tim, her father, about the Fidelity accounts. And then Tim contacted me and gave me the information I'm David's POA, for David, and then obviously for Josh and Nick also, our sons. I also had Josh reach out to Christina and make sure she had the information also. So yeah, none of that information came from Melody. It was from Tim and from my communication with him.
Okay, Did you know that my husband informed David of this prior to Tim and all of that? Per my direction that I asked him to inform David of these things. Did you know
No,
that?
but it should have been you that informed him. You're the executrix.
Okay, that wasn't her question. So just like I told her not to argue with you,
Okay.
goose and gander, just answer her question.
Okay. No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Yes. And this is confusing to me because this is where it steps into executor part, I guess. But the point is that David would not talk to me. And he and my husband made good friends. So he talked to him.
Is this a question?
I'm sorry. No.
Okay, you can ask questions right now.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, please. Melanie, were you on the phone with David when my husband came by to drop off some gifts for him and to inform him of these things that came to David personally? Were you on the phone with him?
We were talking when Matt arrived, but we hung up because he was going to talk to Matt. And the gifts were completely off the wall. I felt like it was some kind of manipulation, weird thing. There was no reason for Matt to give David any gifts at all. They are not friends.
Are you sure? Because you're under oath. Are you sure?
I'm
Objection,
absolutely
Your
sure.
Honor.
What's
You can
the
ask
objection?
David if they're
Argument,
friends.
Melanie, I'm sorry. When we object, so go ahead and let me finish the objection, and then you can continue. Okay. The objection is argumentative.
Overruled. You can answer the question. Go ahead and answer the question.
What was the question?
Were you on the phone when Matt, my husband, came to David personally and informed him of the will specifications, the distributor stuff? Did you, multiple times actually, he came over, and were you on the phone any of those times?
No, not for his time there. I was talking to David when Matt arrived, and David said, Matt's here, I need to talk to him, and we hung up.
And did you speak with David about the events after Matt left?
Yes.
So you were or were not aware of what Matt told David?
He did not tell him anything about the will or the fidelity accounts, any of that. And none of it came from you, and none of it was in writing. It was just all verbal from Matt.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
If you're addressing the court, you're still on mute, so we can't hear you.
Okay, on Betty's birthday, Melanie, please confirm whether you did or did not have multiple communications with David while Matt was there. When Matt came over on Betty's birthday, over text, over phone call, whatever. Please confirm whether you did or did not have communication with David.
Objection.
Or actually with both of them, actually. I'm sorry, with both.
What's the objection?
Relevant.
That's overruled. Did you, yes or no, did you have participation in those?
I don't remember anything about that specific date. June 15th is Betty's birthday, and that's the day that Melody was sworn in as the executrix by Zoom. I watched that Zoom meeting. I talk to David every day on the phone and text with him every day, but I don't remember anything specific about that date.
Are you comfortable turning over your phone records for that day?
To the court, not to you.
Okay. And so those records from Betty's birthday, is it correct that they will only show that one phone call to David?
I don't remember. We talk several times a day. Long distance is free.
Okay, so is it true, based on what you said previously, that you only talked to David that one time when Matt arrived and then you hung up, and that's all that you talked to him that day?
As far as I remember.
Did you or did you not state that as fact in your previous answer when I asked you that question?
As far as I remember, when Matt arrived, David said, "Hey, Matt's here. I'm going to talk to him. I'll talk to you later." And we hung up. As far as I remember, this was in June. So I don't know if you recorded my call or what your, issue is with this.
Hold on one second, please.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to what I think is going on here, which is that her Matt in the background is coaching her on what to say.
Mm-hmm.
Melanie, let me just address the judge quickly, okay? I'm not, these long pauses, I'm not really sure where we're going with this line of questioning. It seems like she's venturing into executor territory, but to be clear, I'm not even sure what she's asking about.
Okay. It's overruled with regard to asking questions, but certainly if she calls herself as a witness, it's not going to be something that's going to be able to take place. So that part's overruled. But what I am going to do is I had another hearing at 3 o'clock. So I'm just going to recess this quickly and take care of that hearing. Ms. Patton, maybe you can gather up some of your questions during that time frame, and then we'll come back and continue with the cross-examination. Okay, so we're on recess on that case. If everybody from that case could put yourself on mute so we don't hear anything going on in the background wherever you guys are. The other case that we have this afternoon is
And that's it. That's it. That's all for that part. But don't worry, we have the next part. We're going to start watching it. Don't worry. I promise it's not that end. Here we go.
Liquidated cash that she had in her accounts. First of all, are you aware that Fidelity stopped paying Betty her distributions as of January of this year?
No.
Are you aware that, oh man, I have 2%. I have to get a charger. Are you aware that they also refused to give her liquidated cash that she had in her accounts as she requested?
No, not aware.
Are you aware that the tune of what she was asking for was around $200,000?
No, I have no
Objection.
idea.
What's
You know,
the objection?
Relevance. It appears. I'm confused. It sounds like she's talking about things that happened before the decedent died.
Yes, I'm.
Relevance is sustained.
So, are you aware that because Fidelity would not give Betty her monies that were hers and liquidated, me and my husband had to cover all of her expenses on Bryce Heather, all of David's expenses, and all of Tim's expenses?
That's what you
Objection.
told me, but I have no proof.
What's the objection?
She's assuming facts that are not in evidence. We have no proof of any of this supposed money that she's advanced. And again, she's talking about matters that happened before the decedent died.
Sustained as to hold on. Your objection is relevance.
And she's assuming facts that are not in evidence.
Okay, it's overruled as to both. Go ahead, Ms. Patton.
So are you or are you not aware, Melanie, that me and my husband had to pay for all of Betty's and her son's expenses before she died, beginning February, and also after, pretty much all the way through till you took over the utilities?
I object to relevance as the part of the question that asked about anything paid for our behalf of the son prior to the date of death.
That's overruled. The son or the decedent?
She said, go ahead.
Who are we asking about? The decedent or the decedent's son?
Both. We were covering all of the
It's sustained as to the decedent's son. He's not an issue here.
David is the person to whom I'm referring, and that was a lot of my questions have to do with David and the house and what Melanie was saying.
Is it responsive? Tell me what question she asked that this is responsive to, Ms. Patton. What did Ms. Bryant get into that asking about the expenses y'all paid for David is relevant to respond to?
Yeah, Melanie was talking about how we had stopped paying the bills and how utilities were being past due, and seeming like I wasn't taking care of things.
Okay, it's overruled then. Thank you. Ask your next question.
Okay. I'm sorry, Melanie, did you or did you not ask me over text message while Betty was still alive to give you full access to her bank account information?
Information,
Objection.
yes.
What's the objection?
Relevant.
Sustained.
Did you or did you not demand that I give you the access to Betty's financial information while Betty was still alive?
All right, I've already sustained objection to this question. Ask something different.
Okay. And did you or did you not ask me to I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought again. Is it true that you promised me a POA for David months and months ago, and only
Objection.
What's the objection?
Relevant.
Overruled. Can you answer the question? Did you hear it?
No.
Ask the question again, please. You're on mute, Miss Patton. You need to ask that question again.
Sorry,
please.
it goes to the relevance. It goes to the relevance of you.
I overruled the objection. Your question is okay. I overruled her objection, but the witness didn't hear the question, so you need to ask it again.
Okay, sorry. So, is it true, Melanie, that you promised me a POA for David months ago and only just got it to me mid-November?
Yes.
Okay. uh, um, are you aware that the reason why we couldn't keep up with the payments on David's needs and the utilities was because I had run out of estate money and David would not cooperate with me and you did not have the POA?
Objection, Your Honor. It seems like we're getting into executor territory when she's talking about
Yes.
paying on the house, and that would have been in her capacity as the executor, which I understand these line of questions are supposed to be restricted to her as in her individual capacity.
Well, I don't think that's what the line of questions has to be restricted to. That's how she is restricted to be able to ask them. I think they have to be restricted to her actions that she took or things that you brought up to be relevant. So that's overruled. Ms. Dake, you can answer the question.
Okay, ask the question again.
Okay, you want me to ask the question again about the POA?
Yes.
Are you aware that you told me you would give me a POA for David after Betty died, and you never got it to me for months, and I asked you for it multiple times?
Yes, we did that through Emily Taylor, the lawyer, and it's a big organization and there were delays and, you know, other people do things. And so it took a while to get it. Yes.
David?
Are you telling me that David had nothing to do with this POA process at all?
He signed the papers for it and it was done with the lawyer, Emily Taylor in Houston.
So why was there such a delay? We can do things electronically these days. Why was there such a delay on this process?
I don't know. What difference does it make?
Don't ask her questions, please.
Okay, sorry.
That's not helpful.
Okay, sorry.
Under those conditions, would you consider it to be unreasonable for me to meet the timelines you demanded?
What's your question?
Under the condition of being unable to move forward with estate funding and not having a POA for David to do so, it would be very difficult for me to proceed with the timeline and the deadlines that you've given me. Is that true? Do you consider that to be a fact?
No, not at all. I didn't give you any deadlines. The deadlines are from the probate court. And whether I ever was David's POA or not had nothing to do with you taking care of your duties as the executrix.
Did you have any part in delaying this process?
What process?
The process of getting the estate funding and the beneficiary funding specifically. Do you agree or disagree that you had a part to play in that? That's my question.
I have no idea what you're even asking.
Did you or did you not do something to delay me to getting this done on time?
No. I encouraged you to do it on time. I told you that I was the executrix for my dad when he died in 2015, and I would be glad to help you and give you advice. You said that I was thwarting you and a bully because I had a lawyer.
Okay. Next question. Did you or did you not tell me over text message that David was not capable of handling the finances and his own finances himself?
Yes.
Can you please explain why?
He has.
Object, Your Honor. I'm sorry, it's irrelevant. I'm not quite sure what this has to do with
Yes.
anything that we're talking about right now in terms of whether or not the executor should be removed.
It's overruled. You can answer the question.
David has severe fibromyalgia. He's been to 2 different specialists. There was a questionnaire of like 30 items for fibromyalgia, and he has 29 of them. He has a lot of physical pain, physical weakness, insomnia. Goodness, I mean, he's a very disabled, miserable person. One of the fibromyalgia things is anxiety. He has a lot of anxiety. He has extreme anxiety over the smallest of things. We were married for 38 years. I was definitely the administrator. I paid all the bills. I took care of everything like that. We discussed them on a monthly basis, but I actually did all that administrative kind of thing.
Okay, are you still answering the question?
I think so.
Okay, I just want to make sure you're not going on and on just for time's sake, that we're not getting.
Oh, no, not at all. So yes, I don't think he's capable of doing this on his own. He definitely needs me. That's why I'm his POA.
Okay, did David agree to you being his POA?
Yes, it was his idea. And he met with Emily Taylor, the lawyer, and signed all the documents and stuff in Houston. I wasn't even there.
Okay, did David agree when you initially asked him?
Yes.
What month did he agree?
I don't remember. I think we might have we talked about it sometime early in the summer, I think. I don't remember exactly when. Is Melody on mute? I can't hear her.
Okay, sorry, may I have 1 second to go over my list of questions here?
Yes.
I don't want to leave the first time. Thank you. Okay, Melanie, do you have the names of David's doctors?
Yeah, one of them is Dr. Geller. I can't remember the one before that, but he would know. It was a female doctor who's a specialist in fibromyalgia.
Okay, are you in possession or have access to these medical records and documents?
Objection, Your Honor. I'm not sure why we're going into Mr. Patton's medical history records.
It's sustained. That is sustained. Let's get back to focus on the allegations in the case here.
Okay, so hold on 1 second. I'm so sorry. Do you believe, Melanie, that David's illnesses would to be unable to move out of the house?
Say that again, you breaking up.
Do you believe that David's illnesses that you mentioned would render him incapable of moving out of the house so I could sell it?
Objection, Your Honor. There's been no testimony that his illness that prevent him from moving out of the house. It's not appropriate to be discussing his health information in this context.
Sustained.
Okay, 1 second, please. Do you remember, Melanie, the last time that David went to the doctor for these things?
Objection, Your Honor. I don't know what this has to do with anything that we're talking about today.
Okay, that's sustained. Let's move off of David's health issues onto a relevant topic, please.
Okay, so Melanie, the day that you were on the phone with David and Matt came over and he brought David some gifts, you said they were peculiar. Can you tell me what they were and why you said that?
David could give you the list of what he gave. The fact that Matt gave him any gifts at all, to me, was a bribe or some weird reason. There was no reason. David and Matt are not friends. There was no reason for Matt to give him anything. I don't know what he gave him.
Okay,
I don't have that.
Talking to Matt about anything to you?
Say it again.
Did David mention to you anything that he and Matt discussed?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sustained. Hello?
Are you aware that my husband gave David a Marshall amp speaker for his guitar practice and a Stetson hat?
No.
Objection.
What's the objection?
Relevant.
Sustained.
And so, Melanie, can you explain what you found peculiar about the gifts that you don't remember him telling you about?
He told me about the gifts. I just don't have a list of what they were. What is peculiar is that Matt gave him gifts at all. It was completely out of the blue, and it just seemed like a manipulation or some kind of strange motivation. All of those gifts are still at the house with Tim. David took nothing with him because he didn't really consider they were his. He did not know why Matt gave it to him or what was going on. It was weird.
Please confirm that you don't remember what the gifts were.
No, I don't remember what they were. Can you do this without Matt?
Don't ask her questions.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, my next question is, are you aware that the house was not being kept up while David and his caregiver, Sean, were living there?
In what way?
Absolute filth, absolute disgustingness. David would be kept sick longer being there. Are you aware it was in that condition?
Objection,
No.
Your Honor.
What's the objection?
Assuming facts that are not in evidence, we have no testimony as to the state of the house other than as to the utilities.
Sustained.
Are you aware, Melanie, that Sean had been living in the house for 4 months without telling me?
Objection, Your Honor. Assuming facts that are not in evidence, we have no testimony about Sean. We have no testimony from Melody about Sean and what she was not told.
Sustained.
Okay. Are you aware, Melanie, that that I had personally informed David that we would be selling the house and he would have to move out, and he had months to do this? Are you aware of that?
He knew the house needed to be sold, yes.
Are you aware that I had given him multiple notices verbally before I gave him the official eviction notice?
No. But he knew it was in the will that the house had to be sold. So he was never intending to stay living there.
Are you aware that he never packed or did anything to get ready for a move?
He doesn't really have that ability, and that he doesn't have much stuff there. He just has a few clothes. What needs to be done is Tim and David need to go through their parents' belongings and decide who wants what and what is going to be sold or given away. David doesn't really have much there at all.
Okay, so are you aware that that David refused to leave the house based on the premise that he had nowhere to go, which was false.
Objection, Your Honor. She's testifying in her question about what David allegedly told her or didn't tell her.
Sustained.
Are you aware that David used my husband's house address as his own for his warrant issues?
Absolutely not. All
I'm
he's
not sure
ever
how
used.
I'm not sure how this is relevant. Can we please stick to what we're here for? It's not like a place to hash out all the things that has happened in the family history. I know it's tempting, but that's not what we're here for. Really try and stick to what she testified on direct examination, or topics you're trying to elicit to, I guess, show that you shouldn't be removed as the executor of the estates.
Your Honor, I understand. I apologize. Thank you.
But it's okay. It's hard. I understand. I'm just trying to keep y'all on task, so we're not here till tomorrow morning.
Right. So it just in response to you, Your Honor, the relevance is Melanie's integrity and her character, which have been quite different from how I thought she was this.
Okay, so character test, that's not relevant. Melanie's character, that's not what we're here for. It's Melanie's character. If you want to impeach her to show that she's lying to me about something, totally relevant. But just to tell me what a dirty dog person she is and what you think of her, that's not what we're here for.
So, Melanie, are you aware that I gave Sean and David a 3-day eviction notice to give them time to get whatever they needed, and I pleaded with them to get all that they needed, and they refused?
Because the house is 50% David's, so he didn't need to leave.
The problem was, I'm sorry, this is my question. I need to ask you a question. Are you aware that I could not sell the house with David's stuff and the condition it was left in?
David has very little stuff in the house. It would all fit in one car. It's Betty and Boyd's accumulation of stuff since living there since 1969 that David and Tim need to decide who wants what furniture, etc.
I would like to submit photos to counter what you said as due process. Is that all right?
Okay, so are the photos to impeach her?
The house, the photos are of the house and of David's stuff and the condition it was left in, and the reason why I had to get him out of the house in order to follow my grandmother's will.
Okay, so what you're wanting to show me is pictures of the house to show me the condition that was David's stuff. Okay, how are you going to show them to me?
I can send pictures, or I'm not sure how to do that.
Do you have them in digital format?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You have them on the equipment that you're on chat with us right now?
No, it's on a different phone, but I can email them or drop them via Dropbox or something, but I would need a little bit of time.
No, we're not going to do that.
Oh, actually, hold on. It's on my Google Photos. I can get it right now if you give me a second.
I'm going to object, Your Honor, to these coming in on relevance grounds. I mean, we're not really talking about the condition of the house. I don't believe there's any testimony on direct about the condition of the house and why it hasn't been sold. We also have not, it's our contention that the will does not require this house to be sold. We can put the will in front of you and go through that with Melody or with Melanie. But that is not something that is required in the will.
Okay, so I think what got us off on this direction was when we started talking about her mismanagement or alleged mismanagement of the estate, and the house was part of that. And I think she's trying to respond to it. So that's overruled.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Patton, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to submit the documents to you, but
Okay, you're gonna have to upload them in the chat feature so that everyone can see them.
That is something that she is going to need to do, and we are going to continue to watch this case as we go through. We have it in its entirety. Sorry, I just dropped something, but that is it for us today, folks. I know you're like, wait, what? It's only been 2 hours and 17 minutes, but it's been 2 hours and 17 minutes, and I have plans in a little bit. And I also have a video coming out today. What? Yeah, that's right, a video. Do me a solid, go watch it and like it for me. Oh my God, comment on it. Jesus. We might be able to get over 800 subscribers sooner than later. Anyways, you guys, seriously, we will be back tomorrow. We have more of this case. There are four parts altogether. We will be watching them all together. Don't you worry. But and tomorrow we also have our Cart Watchers Anonymous meeting and members only. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I hope that you have a wonderful evening. Remember that I love you. I'm proud of you. And I will see you in the next video. See you tomorrow. Bye, guys. Bye.